It's the Vikings Free Agency Frenzy edition of the official Purple Skull Squad show for Minnesota Vikings fans. How would you grade Kwesi and the Vikings for a haul that rebuilt the trenches? Here's Tony Bell and Eric Peterson to break it all down.
Good evening, everybody there on the official Purple Skull Squad show for Minnesota Viking fans. Tony Bell, the Minnesota Vikings have been extremely busy. You could argue that by all standards, they have been atop with the most signings in the NFL. They have spent well over $270 million. There could be some more money being spent as we speak because Rondell Moore is currently with Kwesi and with KOC, and he's getting the tour of the Vikings facility. And I'm going to guess, Tony, it's probably going to lead to a steak dinner, right, at one of those fine places up in Minnesota.
I don't know if he's going to get Murray's.
You think he's going to get a little step down? He's not the high quality enough to get the Murray's yet.
I think he's going to get TCO room service.
Hey, you know what? This kid, I tell you what, he's exciting though. He's small, but he's fast.
He went to Baltimore. Did he do anything with the Ravens?
No, he was with he was with Arizona. We all remember him there because he had a tremendous touchdown against the Vikings, and then he ended up with Atlanta somehow. And I don't know how that came to be, but he never played for him. He was
okay.
hurt.
You know what? With my girl being a Falcons fan and with me watching the Falcons every Sunday along with the Vikings, I don't remember him with the Falcons.
Well, he was hurt. That's why he never played. He didn't play with them. He didn't play all last year. So we're really looking at Rondell Moore from 2 years ago than we are last year, because last year was a lost cause for him.
And if we're looking at him like that, and he's been kind of out, he's been kind of non-existent and injured the last 2 years, he's probably going to be not expensive.
Right. It's cost efficient with all the money that the Vikings have. And a little dangerous point about it too, though, Tony, it looks like Kwesi's pushing these contracts into next year and the year after. So this could be a very short shelf life for a lot of these guys.
2026 is going to be the make or break. It's going to be make or break by 2026. If not, it might be tear it all down and start all over again.
Yeah, could be. Because remember, Justin Jefferson's contract is going to be going upward. Christian Darrisaw's contract is going to be going upward. TJ Hawkinson's actually is going to come down, but TJ is really going to be playing for his job this year too, because if he's the TJ Hawkinson that we saw at the end of the year, of course, coming back from that devastating knee injury, then I don't think TJ's long to being the Minnesota Vikings tight end.
The one good thing with that is the NFL cap is going to keep going up.
True. And that's, I think, why you keep pushing it, right? Because then if it goes up another $10, $20 million, it's easier to absorb the contracts on the tail end. So in some respects, Tony, you have to tip your cap to Kwesi because he's really done a wonderful job to get to the Vikings to this point of being able to go out and sign all the free agents that they did and address both sides of the football the way that he has. And let's just get to it. I don't want to pat ourselves on the back, but we've been saying this for a while, Tony. That's why it was important for the Vikings to have a franchise quarterback be a draft pick, because on a rookie contract, you can do these things. Because look at what the 49ers have to do just to possibly bring Brock Purdy back. They're gutting the whole team.
They have to gut the whole team just to pay Mr. Irrelevant to be their starting quarterback.
Yeah. So this is going to be a rough year in San Francisco unless Christian McCaffrey has the year of all years. They're sort of almost like in a quasi-rebuild mode. The Vikings are in a really, really good way. And, KOC, Brian Flores, and we have to give some credit because we're going to break down the signings in just a moment. Ryan Grigson, right? He had a lot of say in this free agency. And they've all gotten together and have mapped out a course. That's what we've asked for a while. Like, what is the blueprint for the Minnesota Vikings?
Here's my thing. Why did it take so long?
It's a good question. Well, it took so long because I think they were straddled with, let's face it, huge contracts, that being of one, Kirk Cousins. And now that they don't have that, they have the flexibility to do what they want, and they made some. And Kwesi did a really wonderful job. I think when you look at it last year, He got guys that were a little older. We were surprised because he kind of didn't go 27 and under like he likes to do. He went a little higher. He went 28 and higher, and Grenard was a steal.
Mm-hmm.
But he got Van Ginkel. He got Cashman. He got guys that were immediate assets to the Vikings and guys that would fit into Flores' scheme that now they're adding more pieces to that puzzle, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to assume that all these are players that won Brian Flores on the defensive side absolutely wanted. And we know for a fact that when KOC had his parting press conference, when he really pretty much pointed the finger at the interior of the offensive line of the Minnesota Vikings, well, one of them's already been traded, Ed Ingram. The other one is really basically on any minute watch to either be cut or traded. That being
But here's my thing with that. You know, I'm a trench guy, so I want to upgrade both sides of the line. You've been here 3 years. Both those lines were not good, but yet your biggest link, your biggest weakest link in the offensive line, you tore up his rookie contract and gave him a new one.
That being Garrett Bradbury.
Right. And then Ed Ingram didn't work out. You brought Dalton Reisner back twice. He had his moments. You got Blake Brandel playing out of position. The only consistent you actually had was Darrisaw and O'Neal, but unfortunately, Darrisaw got hurt last year on a play you called that you should not have called. Yes. And so you had to deal with Cam Robinson. But now, all of a sudden, you saw what happened in the playoffs. You saw what happened with Detroit. Sam Darnold, God love him, he kicked ass last year. The man was sacked 60-plus times.
It was really – and then 9 times in that game against the Rams. And you know, people were saying, oh, he's holding the ball too long. Well, if none of your receivers are open, you know, you can't just throw a football in an area where the defender's sitting on. So
you got to remember now, a lot of your quarterbacks, they take the sack. They're not just going to throw the ball up in the air like they did back in the day. Trust me, if you saw Fran Tarkenton play back in the day, many of his interceptions were because he didn't want to take a sack. He just threw the ball up in the air, and they were these lame ducks, and that was usually intercepted. But quarterbacks nowadays are told if the receiver's not open, don't take the chance, take the sack, one more play. Your gunslingers that you had, I think, Favre and Breeze were probably the last ones. They will not just throw the ball whenever. They're going to hold on to the ball.
Yeah.
That being said, you could have did some things for max protection, even with Kirk. Kirk got hurt on a play that should not have even happened. So
it's interesting that you say that because now we've dotted 2 major injuries for the Minnesota Vikings. Kirk Cousins at Lambeau Field and an unnecessary play. The Vikings were well ahead. You could have argued Kirk shouldn't have been in the game at that point.
They should have been running the ball.
And then right before halftime, you call a pass play and put your star left tackle in harm's way, and then Christian Darrisaw's lost for the season, forcing you to then go out the next day and trade for Cam Robinson, which didn't turn out so well. So, there are 2 plays, and that is the learning thing. We'll get into that too. Yeah, no, we don't like that. No, we don't.
We don't.
That, okay, and shut it, Kirko, because he's going to be talked about here too. Because, well, let's just put it out there. This is the question we're asking you here on the page. You got plenty of time to answer. Best answers will be brought upon the show. Do you want Aaron Rodgers to be a Minnesota Viking? And if not, who would you like to see be the backup? Now, I can't make this up, Tony. I can't. There is a person that is willing. He's not part of the media, so take it for what it's worth. But he did text into Purple Daily, and he said he had a chance to meet Kirk Cousins at one of his speeches that he goes to, that he gets paid a lot of money to do, Christian beliefs, the whole deal, you know. And Kirk happened to notice that they had Viking hats on, and he told them, hey, you know what? That was the best time. Love Minnesota. It was so hard for us to leave. Maybe I'll see you soon. Now, I don't want to jump to conclusions, okay? But the Vikings had not signed a backup quarterback. and everyone's thinking that it's Aaron Rodgers. Listen, if it came down to Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins, let's answer that question first, Tony. I'm going to let you take this. Just from a point of view of who do you think gives the Vikings the best chance to win, I'm going to hand it to you, GM Tony Bell. Kwesi is stepped out of the building. You have to make this call. It's on your desk. And best buddies with KOC or the possible team record that is Aaron Rodgers, who, Tony Bell, would you entrust your team to if you had to? Neither. Now, you and I would say JJ McCarthy, but he's not part of this discussion.
It's very simple, null and void. Here's my answer. Neither.
I'm with you. I'm 100% with you on this.
Just the fact that, and I kind of have an insight to what's going on out at TCL. There is one person who is beating the table for Rodgers. Only one person. Where KLC fits in all this is beyond me. And what is he saying? And is he not beating the table for JJ? If he's not, we have a problem. We have a big problem. So there should be no doubt in this team. There should be no question marks. Somebody should be at that podium for the Minnesota Vikings right now saying JJ McCarthy is our quarterback going forward. You drafted him as your franchise quarterback. You win, lose, or draw with him. This is what Viking fans have been asking for the last 40 years. Well, 30 years, at least since Dante. We want our franchise quarterback that we drafted. We're sick of getting retreads. We're sick of getting everybody else's leftovers, especially from that sorry-ass town in Wisconsin where the friggin' only place to hang out is Walmart on your day off if you play for the Packers. I mean, you have a chance now. You have a kid coming off a national championship in a football program that's basically could be a semi-pro NFL team.
I think he's only lost like 4 times in his whole life, by the way. Like, think about that. Every level he's ever played, he's lost 4 times.
Right. And I think what it is here's the thing. Unfortunately, Darnold was a bridge quarterback that you got more than you should have got out of last year.
It was a great year for him.
You were 14-3. So now and a lot of Viking fans are like this. Well, if we go to McCarthy, he's a great unknown. He's going to struggle, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, yeah, he's going to struggle. He is the great unknown. So, unfortunately, you know what you're going to get with Kirk Cousins. You know, but you'd rather have that. You know what you're going to get with Aaron Rodgers. The headache, the distraction, the guy in the locker room who will throw his whole team under the bus and who will be more vocal than your coach. That kumbaya approach that they have in that locker room goes out the window with Aaron Rodgers. But yet there are Viking fans that want to sign these two because guess what? They're veterans. Okay, I'm sick of the old retreads. They both tore Achilles. They're both on the tail end of their career. It's time to move on and give the reins to the young kid. Bottom line. And QC's having a great time tonight because her team, the Patriots, are making moves that are probably going to put them back in the playoffs and maybe farther in the AFC.
Exactly. But you know what, Tony? She'll never have Tom Brady back. That ship has sailed. So there, no more, 6 world championships. They've got to believe that the kid Drake May.
Now, Eric, keep this in mind. If Drake May gets them a Super Bowl,
that's a win. Yeah, that's one more than.
Yeah.
That's why that picture that she has up is so imperative, because just to put an exclamation point to what you said, Tony, and you did it very eloquently with a lot of passion, is that JJ McCarthy is the answer. And I really feel when this is all said and done, I mean, the Vikings might be throwing this around, but there might be stipulations to what's being thrown around that we don't even know. And yeah, if Mark Wilf wants them, great. But Mark Wilf doesn't coach the team. He doesn't run the team as far as day-to-day operations, play with players. So I think JJ McCarthy's safe in the sense that KOC handpicked him, saw what Jim Harbaugh has said many times, that J.J. McCarthy is the best quarterback, was in college football, the year where Jaden Daniels got drafted, Drake May, Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, Michael Penix.
He's in that class.
Harbaugh said he was, and that he himself prevented J.J. McCarthy from being more good, like being a better prospect, because he asked him to play his system.
Right.
Be a protect the ball. We're going to run it, but then you'll get your opportunities on play action. JJ did that, but Jim Harbaugh said that JJ is more than equipped to run a pro-style offense. And when you saw how he threw the ball, we got excited about this in the Raider game. Sure, his first pass was intercepted. Take that.
I haven't been that excited for a preseason game, if ever.
I haven't either. The rhythm, the velocity, the placement, the movement that he had, even with the knee being an issue. And we saw that with Michigan. When he needed to make a play, he made a play. And I'm going to bring that name up just one more time because I know quality control is going to love this. But when the GOAT, we all consider Tom Brady, right, to be the best quarterback to have played in the NFL, well, at least the winningest quarterback. He's
up there. He's not the GOAT. He's
right. You could say John Elway. I can't fight you on that. Dan Marino. There are some greats, okay? Joe Montana, who's a perfect record in the Super Bowl, 4-0. Terry Bradshaw. There's some greats.
In today's NFL, he's the GOAT, but if he had to play back in,
might have been different, right? He wouldn't have had the stats that he certainly compiled in the NFL since 2000 and onward.
Yep.
But what Tom Brady said, and there's the picture, and there was a quote right underneath there. Tom Brady said that this guy has a better arm than I do, and it's like looking at a mirror. And that's how he looks at J.J. McCarthy. Now, you can only guess that he probably tried to get the Vikings into some kind of negotiations to bring J.J. McCarthy to the Raiders. But when Tom Brady says that and puts his name on it, you can't take that lightly. And Jim Harbaugh, who played quarterback for many years, the Chicago Bears and Indianapolis Colts and the Chargers, Jim Harbaugh, who's a winner, said that he's the best quarterback. He would be the first-round pick in this year's draft.
Yep.
I'm ready to get on that train, Tony.
We got to bring one thing up too. We forgot to bring this up, and I think a lot of people don't know this. Last year, when the whole Kirk Cousins thing was going on, one of the people who actually was on board with wanting to keep Kirk Cousins was Kevin O'Connell.
Which then begs to ask the question, Tony Bell, could we be seeing Mr. 8, Kirk Cousins? And I know, listen, for anyone who's watching this, if Tori Bell gets to see this later, Torrey Holt, I should say, if Torrey Holt gets to see this later, if all those Kirko supporters get to see this later, they're not signing a backup quarterback. Last time I checked, we're down to like Joe Flacco, who actually I wouldn't mind seeing.
I'd rather have Flacco.
I would too, because
hey, quality control interjecting. If when you guys sign Aaron Rodgers, the Patriots will be happy to take J.J. McCarthy.
No, you can't have. You got Drake.
You can't have McCarthy.
Silence down. You're not getting J.J. McCarthy.
You're not getting McCarthy.
Okay, just because Tom Brady loves him, he's not going there. He's going to be the Vikings quarterback, whether it's this year or the next 10 years after that. We know J.J. is going to be the quarterback. The question to ask, though, and the question we're asking is, if you had a choice, Aaron Rodgers or Kirk Cousins as your backup, and both are available. Both are absolutely available. Neither of them will accept being the backup. We do know they have egos amongst them, Aaron and Kirk, that they'll expect to at least start for this year. But here's the question to ask. Which one would you rather have mentor JJ? I guess that's another way of looking at it.
Well, here's the problem with that. Neither one of them, Rodgers or Cousins, are mentors at all. They didn't work with any of the backup quarterbacks, especially Kirk. Kirk was with himself, but he also had.
And he also insisted that Sean Mannion be his backup.
And he insisted that Sean Mannion be his backup because he wasn't
Aaron Rodgers, though. But I'm going to differ because Jordan Love credited Aaron Rodgers with learning a lot about football while he waited. And what was interesting about that is Aaron had a very similar deal when he came into the league, when he had to wait to be selected in the first round, as you saw him there, the famous ESPN pictures, right? And then Aaron had to wait, almost 4 years, Tony, before Brett Favre moved on, right? He kept saying he was going to retire, not retire.
Well,
and Brett said, I'm not here to help this kid out. He's trying to take my job.
Brett did what Aaron's doing now.
In the sense of holding us all hostage.
Yes.
Being a diva, saying, I think I'm going to retire, but no, I think I can play another year. Yes. Being a focal point of the media, he is, right? Because like Brett, Aaron has a big ego and it's grown. There's a narcissistic edge to him. There's no question.
Here's the thing, though. We get on Kirk because Kirk didn't do a whole hell of a lot as far as postseason wise. Aaron, outside of winning the Super Bowl in 2010, which is a big thing to have on your resume, he actually had better teams after 2010.
He did.
And they did not advance to the Super Bowl. Matter of fact, they usually got bounced in either the championship or the first round.
They got upset by the 49ers twice at Lambeau.
He lost to the Giants in 2011 in the first round. They were 15-1.
Yeah, they were heavily favored in that game too. I think.
And Eli Manning went in there and he beat them.
So, and that's the thing. Like we're saying, Aaron Rodgers gives you the best chance to get to the Super Bowl. Well, he hasn't done that since 2011. Everybody, that's what 13 years, 14 years on the clock. That's not
about as many years as when we took when we took Brett Favre in 2009. I think Brett was 12 years removed from a Super Bowl?
Yes, because it was the Broncos. The
97.
97. Yeah. It was the Broncos.
He was 11 or 12 years removed from a Super Bowl, and he was and he was a Jet. He was a Jet.
It's so weird, Tony, that we're here. It's like an episode of The Twilight Zone, because both of these two are literally shadowing each other, right?
Yeah.
Both of them first ballot Hall of Famers. Both of them very exciting, elite quarterbacks. No one's going to ever question that amongst Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers. You could argue both of them are top 10 quarterbacks all time, wherever you want to place them. I'm not going to argue it. I always liked Brett more because Brett was more exciting. Like Brett, there was this flashy.
Brett was more old school.
Right, thank you. He had that old school, you'd knock him down and he'd get back up.
Yeah.
He'd have a broken finger. It didn't matter. He was there to win that game, right? Aaron's more cerebral. He's like trying to break you down, reading that defense. But, you could argue Aaron's had a lot more big throws in his career because we all know Aaron's one of the best at Hail Marys because we've seen it. Just ask the Detroit Lion fans over and over and over again, where Brett threw these moonbeams up in the air to come down to be.
You know what? Aaron also got the calls.
Yeah, I would say more so than Brett.
He got the calls. I mean, and they were on TV every weekend. Aaron Rodgers is must-see TV. He still sells tickets.
Brett Favre, though, right? Brett Favre set records. That game in which, ironically, Brett Favre went up against Aaron Rodgers, the one I attended on that Monday night in Minneapolis, the first time Favre met his old team at the Metrodome. That was the highest-rated Monday night game of all time. That was a record breaker, and we know Favre outdueled Rodgers in what was a very exciting game, and he also beat him up at Lambeau. So just looking at their careers, started out as Packers, right? Went to the Jets, which turned into disaster for both of them. Favre got hurt, but Favre played hurt. Remember, he had that shoulder thing, and he could barely he was throwing interceptions because the accuracy was hurt by his hurt shoulder.
Yep.
Aaron tears his Achilles in a devastating opening drive of their season 2 years ago.
Oh, God. Now, all he did was step the wrong way, and he tore it.
Now, and you know this, Tony, Achilles have a weird way of hindering you as you get older. This is not an injury that you're just going to come back and be 100% from. Aaron's definitely going to show signs of still having that issue.
He looked at we played the Jets last year in London, and that Achilles affected him because 9 times out of 10, without that Achilles injury and a younger Aaron Rodgers, he doesn't get hit as much as he did against us. We got to him 5 times.
Yeah.
And that pass that he threw that Van Ginkel took for a pick 6. Aaron doesn't do that.
No. Aaron's very, very good with the ball protection.
Right. I mean, this is, and the last thing I'll say is when you look at what happened in New York, the media capital of the U.S., what went there was just a circus, and he basically got Robert Saleh run out of a job.
He did.
Now
this isn't all on Aaron's. Listen, we're not blaming everything on Aaron here because the team had major issues, right?
They did.
Their offensive line was so bad, and no one saw that coming because they had players on the offensive line that were supposed upgrades, and they weren't. They couldn't run the football, which, Breece Hall is a dynamic full halfback that is in the top 10 in the NFL now and couldn't run to save his life. So everything was put on Aaron's shoulders to have to throw the ball repeatedly, and they were asking way too much for a 40-year-old quarterback. I'm sorry.
And keep in mind, Aaron almost beat the Vikings last year if it's not for Stephon Gilmore picking him off.
And to Aaron's credit, when the season was sort of lost, he played very good football down the stretch. He finished with 28 touchdown passes, 11 interceptions. He had a nice rating. So if you're going to say, well, does Aaron still have it? Well, if you watch the end of last season, you could say he does. The problem is he didn't have a good team that when Ulbrich took over, right, it just turned into a nightmare. No one knew what the hell they were doing. It was embarrassing to watch New York Jets football last year.
And, of course, Aaron is going to say he wants to play in Minnesota. You don't think throwing the Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson, you got Aaron Jones in the backfield, you don't think he wants to pad those stats, and then you get the guys we get up front. Now you've got Kelly. Now you've got Fries. Hopefully Darisaw comes back.
Maybe Rondell Moore.
I'm kind of hoping they do sign Tevin Jenkins, who's a natural left guard, but now Jenkins went to visit, I forget who it was.
Seattle.
He went to visit Seattle, so he might end up in Seattle.
And they might another weapon for Darnold to have.
Another weepon for Darnold. But I mean,
Darnold needs all the help he can get up there, and Cooper Kupp might help him.
And then the way we've upgraded the defense, upgraded the defensive front. Any quarterback would want to come up here, any veteran quarterback. But you've got a quarterback right there and waiting who's been with this team from the start, was traveling with this team, has been in the meetings, has been in the locker room, is a part of this team's culture. Put the reins on him and let him run with it.
I'm with you 100%. I just kind of have a weird feeling, though, that, as you said, that either Mark Wilf or someone, and maybe it's KOC. I mean, because KOC has more power now. We do know that. By signing that contract extension, he has a longer shelf life than Kwesi does. So what KOC wants, he's going to get. And I just don't see Mark Wilf being able to override that. But
and here's the problem, too. This is ever since the firing of Rick Spielman and everything that happened during the Spielman-Zimmer thing where the Wilfs were out of touch. Now everything is done by a committee. There is no one voice. And somebody, I want to say it was an agent that said something about that it's a problem. You don't have that one cohesive voice. It's almost like, okay, we've talked about it. Now I got to go talk to the board. And Kwesi, everybody's giving Kwesi credit. Let Kwesi cook, blah, 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 blah. Kwesi's not doing this all by himself.
I don't think he has full control.
He doesn't have full control.
You pointed this out, Tony. You pointed this out. He wanted Jim Harbaugh to be the head coach. That didn't happen. He wanted Jameson Williams to be the first pick in the draft. That didn't happen. So he's not the one who has the final say, apparently, whether it's Grigson, whether it's Barry, whether it's, they had to do this kumbaya. And you're right. It convolutes the message of just having the GM and coach and, the defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator, all there together. What do we need? This is what we need. Let's get this done. They've got to do it with everyone having a say. God knows the part owners,
they've got people making decisions. And we found this out, me and you together, that the person that was the reason for Jim Harbaugh not getting a gig was not the guy that they said it was. It was another person from another department completely that I'm like, really?
Why are you listening to that person?
Thank you. No matter what.
I can only imagine how Jim Harbaugh looked right? Jim Harbaugh's a really fun-go-lucky guy, you know, smiling in his khaki
Yeah.
pants. He's got a stern football look. When they brought his name up and saying, well, you know, Jim, this guy had this to say about you, and Jim probably sat at that particular time. Thank you very much, Minnesota Vikings. I'm going to go back to Michigan. I wish you the best of luck, but
Yeah.
why are you doing that? Why would you?
And then, you know, nobody put two and two together. When all that stuff went down in Michigan, the person they blamed was the same guy that got him, that said did not want him to have the Minnesota job. And I'm like, all right, well, you don't want the Minnesota job. Now you don't want him to have the Michigan job?
Yeah, that's kind of weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
When Jim went back there and won a national championship,
he goes back to Cincinnati
before he went to Los Angeles.
And goes to the LA Chargers,
yeah.
He gets an HC job. So, you know, and KOC was not even our first choice. Actually, the one, if people knew who the Vikings really wanted, we know who it is.
Yeah.
If a lot of Viking fans knew who this board really wanted to be the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, they would go, holy F.
Thank God the board didn't run free with that, because
thank you.
Is he even in the league anymore? Hackett?
I think he is somewhere. I think he's
like
an assistant
coordinator, maybe.
Yeah.
That guy was so lost as a head coach. It was disturbing.
But for people that don't know, it was Nathaniel Hackett, for those that didn't know.
Yeah.
The board loved him.
Yeah.
And they wanted to hire him.
And he's just, but this goes to show you, coaching is, not most pressurized, maybe president of the United States. Coaching on the sideline of a professional NFL team is major pressure. We already have concerns with KOC just with his play calling, but if he's sitting there in his office, Tony Bell, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just picture KOC right now, and as the minutes pass by here on this Friday, middle of March, he's sitting there on his board, and he's got all the new weapons. We're going to talk about it in just a moment. All these new toys. The most important one is, who's he going to put behind center? And we know KOC's relationship with Kirk Cousins. I am telling you, that's not impossible. That is not impossible.
I'm going to bring this up now. I'm KOC. I'm sitting at this board, and I'm looking at who I'm going to put a quarterback. But in the back of my head, I've had success with marginal quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. I'm listening to the press say I am a quarterback whisperer. I'm a quarterback guru. I can get anybody in here to play that quarterback position and have success. Also, I'm going to run the ball this year. That's going to take a lot of pressure off of my quarterback. So, who should I have as my number one quarterback? Well, I did draft this kid out of Michigan last year to be the franchise quarterback and the face of this franchise, and to hopefully take us to the promised land here within the next few years. And I will instill in him what I instilled in Sam, what I instilled in Josh, what I instilled in Kirk. And I'm going to run with him.
It's almost like a no-brainer. You and I see it the same way as far as that's concerned. And yet, you know, the opposing side would say, listen, JJ has proven nothing in the NFL. At Michigan, he was in a power offense, which was rush first, throw second. That in the NFL, a veteran quarterback is valuable in a higher WAR rate, and the fact that they have the experience, they've been there, they can break down defenses. So that's the argument. That's the side of it. And they have, like, Aaron Rodgers has a shiny little ring. Joe Flacco has a shiny ring, right? Kirk has one playoff win. But, you know, Kirk's had success. Let's not poo-poo him. He's put a lot of numbers up. And not only that, the coach loves Kirk Cousins.
Because Kirk Cousins is not the type of quarterback who will put up a stink, who will change the play.
It'd be easier to run us. Right. He won't change the culture.
He won't change his play. Now, here's the problem. KOC gives Aaron Rodgers a play, Aaron Rodgers will blow it off and call his own play.
Mike McCarthy said so.
He
infuriated Matt LaFleur.
Yes.
And we don't need to go over the Robert Saleh New York experience.
Right. And he really got over on Saleh because Saleh was a defensive guy.
But, you know, in fairness to Aaron, though, right? Aaron's a very cerebral guy.
Why are you being fair to Aaron?
Only because Brett Favre did that in 2009. He didn't listen. You think he listened to Brad Childress? You think he listened to Brad Childress?
I wouldn't have listened to Brad Childress.
No,
Brad Childress shouldn't have the gig.
So maybe Aaron, in fairness of Aaron, he didn't want to listen to Robert Saleh or whoever their offensive coordinator was like, yeah, no, I got this.
So what was it with McCarthy? What was it with LaFleur?
Right. Well, my whole thing is, because Aaron, we know Aaron, listen, he wants to be treated, wants to be known as
he wants to be a prima donna
quarterback in the NFL. He wants to be treated like the king he thinks he is. And if this is 4 or 5 years ago, I certainly say there's nothing that when he won his multiple MVPs, the argument wouldn't be there. But that's not the same player. This is what Viking fans have to understand. He's not the same player. Yes, he had success late in the year, but the Jets were out of it too. Let's not forget that. They were playing low pressurized games, okay?
But
Aaron had to win when the Jets were fighting for something, he failed.
He tore apart that locker room, though.
Oh, he called out Mike Williams, who ironically is back with the LA Chargers out here. He finger pointed left and right. Do you want that to be part of what you're trying to
you can't
forward in the culture?
That's not going to work here, especially when
work. JJ's the answer. Tony, you're right. JJ is the right answer. And I will say this, and let's remember this tape. And I told you this. Mm-hmm. Just remember when I tell you this. You want Aaron Rodgers for 1 year in the hope you're going to try to get to a Super Bowl? Or do you want to move ahead, right? Move ahead. And I will say this, if you go to JJ McCarthy this year and put the time in to develop him, he's going to struggle. Okay? Rookies struggle.
It comes with him. It comes with the territory.
Do you remember after like 4 weeks, Denver fans were like, what the hell did we do drafting Bo Nix? Remember? They were like, their hands were up in the air. He had
they were done with him.
He threw for like 80 yards or something.
Yeah.
And then by the end of the year, he was up there for Rookie of the Year. He was right there with Jaden Daniels. Patience. And here's where the aspect is. JJ, wherever he has gone, he has something about him. There's an it factor. Okay. Kirk Cousins doesn't have that it factor if you want to go back. Kirk's a nice guy. Says the same old stuff over and over. Won't throw anyone under the bus. Okay, is a good quarterback, very good quarterback. Aaron Rodgers, elite, but those two guys have already shown us what they are, and that's one Super Bowl between them in 30 some odd years of quarterbacking in the NFL.
I'm going to be honest with you. If you're even the Minnesota Vikings, why are you even entertaining the thought of bringing Kirk Cousins back? You had him here for 6 years, and what did you get? One playoff win, one division title?
That's it.
That's it.
Unless Kirk is going to say he's coming in as a backup, which we know he won't. He's not. No. There's no way.
It's not.
No one's coming in to say, I'm just going to be a backup. They're competing for a job.
Yeah.
But I will say this.
It makes you can't go backwards.
No. Time to go forward.
Yes, you have to.
And I will say this. If J.J. McCarthy is our quarterback this year, the Minnesota Vikings will, in his time of being the quarterback, win not one, remember this, two Super Bowls. And that would be one more than Aaron Rodgers ever won. This kid is a winner. I will put my reputation, I will throw my hat into the ring. That and this kid is it.
I'm going to say this too. You won 14 games with Sam Darnold.
Where could you have gone with JJ?
Yeah. You probably beat Detroit.
Yeah.
Both times. And you probably advanced to the division round of the playoffs.
All right. We've spent so much time, and I'm going to finish up with Aaron Rodgers on this. Okay. If it happens, who knows? We could be. Yeah,
I'm just going to put it out there right now so everybody knows it's on tape. Everybody sees it right now. If the Minnesota Vikings bring back either Aaron Rodgers or Kirk Cousins, I am done as a Minnesota Vikings fan. I'm done.
Wait. Hold on, Tony. You'll still do the show, right? You'll still do the show with me?
Eric, I'm done.
Hey, you're done with the fandom, but you can be my NFL analyst, Tony Bell, right? So
I will still do the show.
Okay.
I will still do
now
the
there's
show.
extra pressure for JJ.
Unless if quality control doesn't stop playing the Creed and the Nickelback, every now and then, yeah, I will still do the show. But
okay, we'll get to your Devo demands later, Tony, on how we're going to keep you on the show. But here's the pros and here's the cons to it, really quickly, of Aaron Rodgers. And we'll just throw this back and forth, and then we'll get into the real positive things that the Vikings did. All right, the pros are you're getting a first ballot Hall of Famer. Nobody reads defenses any better. He's going to be a huge revenue generator. I can't argue that. The 12 jerseys, the primetime games the Vikings are going to get, they'll probably get anywhere between 4 to 7 primetime games.
How much more money does this team need?
I don't, and that's not what we want. We want a championship.
I want a Lombardi trophy. The only thing I want from Green Bay is
just a Lombardi trophy. That stupid. I want that thing gone. No more. You know what I'm saying? Win one before we die. We're getting closer. We're getting closer to death, Tony.
Yeah.
God, win one for crying out loud. All right, mentoring JJ, which could be a good thing. His big play throws, and if it's just for 1 year, could be a pro. The cons. Age, Achilles' last stand, that weak Achilles, Devo personality. Is he going to bring Netflix in with him? Is he going to bring his Hollywood stuff in there with him? And players don't like this.
Is he going to take players on his darkness cave retreat with the incense going? I mean, come on.
And the mushroom experiences, getting closer to understanding the self, right?
Yeah.
Worse yet for Kwesi, his GM tendencies, which means if Aaron Rodgers is coming, does that mean Randall Cobb's coming? Is Alan Lazard on his way? We already got Aaron Jones, so we don't got to worry about that, right? What players is King Aaron Rodgers going to ask that they get to keep him happy? He hasn't won a Super Bowl since 2011. Hasn't been in a Super Bowl.
He hasn't been one. He hasn't been in a Super Bowl.
Culture destroyer, and if he wants 2 years, then you're telling JJ and his representation that we're going to ask for a trade. So they've got to hold firm. It's got to be a one and done with this guy, or yes, I might be with you, Tony, not watching Vikings football for a while, because it's going to destroy the tremendous gift we got when teams didn't draft JJ McCarthy, and we got him. And just to even wait a year is too long. Get him in there now. Let's see what we got with a better team. And we're going to get into that right now because Kwesi did do a good job this offseason, Tony. And I want to ask you, out of all the guys that they signed, which one were you most excited about?
Oh, God.
It's a toughie. There's a couple.
Both the guys on the offensive line, both the Colts guys, Freeze and Kelly. Kelly was a shock. I didn't even know Kelly was on the radar.
A lot of people said he might be retiring, which was weird.
Well, he was hurt last year. He's been hurt the last couple of years.
So was Fries. Yeah,
so was Fries. Hargrave, pleasant surprise. I remembered him in Philly, and then he was in the Niners.
Do you know he's top 4 defensive inline pressure rate? Top 4.
And we talked about it before. The Vikings need that inside rush presence. Now, guess what? You've got Allen, who wanted to be a Viking. You've got Hargrave. You've got now Redmond.
Yeah.
So you can rotate in. You can rotate him in. You can move around and play chess if Flores, chooses to. I'm excited to see this defense, but then you go and ruin it when you get an aging friggin' geriatric quarterback or a friggin' washed up damn near geriatric quarterback who you had here for 6 years and didn't win anything with him. When it just kills the vibe.
It kind of does.
It just does.
Everything that we felt. I remember how we were like, okay, we didn't expect last year's 14-win season, right? But we were so excited that J.J. McCarthy and they got Dallas Turner, who I think will have a big year coming up this year.
I think Dallas Turner will too.
So we added these 2 huge pieces, right? We were like, yes, who cares if they only win 8 or 9 games? We're going to get J.J. in there and boom. And then it was like gut punch, first preseason game, knee injury, out for the year. And we were like, why does this always happen to us, right?
We can't have nice things.
But then Sam Darnold, got us back into the ring. We're like, whoa.
We were actually winning games. We were actually comfortable in the fourth quarter with the lead, which was weird. You could actually enjoy.
Well, 14 wins, and then the last 2 games. This is we're getting high on that level, right on top of that mountain. We're like, anything's possible. Then the Detroit game happens, and the old Sam Darnold appears, and then the gut punch.
It's kind of weird. Yeah, I wanted to blame Sam for that, rightfully so. But then some of that's got to go on KOC too.
Yeah, play calling. When if your offensive line can't protect him, roll him out.
Right.
Call some pitches. Run the football. I mean, you still have Aaron Jones. I mean, and I don't know what's going on with Ty Chandler. That's you and me both scratching our heads on that one.
The Jets game last year was kind of that. Once that game ended, because he looked good in flashes, then he looked bad. A couple of bad fumbles. And KOC just left him alone. As a matter of fact, he went back and got Cam Akers.
That was it. The hook was already out. And
yeah.
Ty never got a chance to redeem himself. It was almost like Jalen Naylor when he fumbled in the Green Bay game, right? He was so good up to that point.
They let Naylor back.
Yeah, but Naylor only disappointed. He dropped passes, he seemed so dejected. And that's the other aspect of it. These guys are young. Mentally, you got to figure a way to kind of support them when something goes wrong. That's not.
And here's another thing too. Why didn't Sherfield get more of a chance?
I don't know. We won't get to hear that name again because he
signed with Denver.
Yeah, I mean that's the aspect when you look at it. Okay, so you're most excited about the interior offensive linemen.
Both sides of the line, yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Those are the exciting. So I'll change it up because those are definitely the 1-2. A guy I'm really interested in, Tony, because there is still a weakness on the Vikings that you can certainly see. And again, they have the draft, so maybe they take care of it in the draft. And there's still some pretty good free agents out there. So is Isaiah Rodgers, right?
Mm-hmm.
This guy shines, other than the stupidity of betting on football and being suspended, which is what it is. Okay,
yeah.
He made that mistake. He's not the only one. You can talk to Calvin Ridley about that.
Mm-hmm.
The kid shines. He's big, he's fast, and he's really good on man coverage, which is exactly what Brian Flores wants.
And they got him reasonably cheap.
So that's an exciting player, like kind of under the radar of Jonathan Allen and Hargrave.
So we got to look at it this way too. We're expecting Blackman to come back from his injury, right?
That's right. He's coming back. I think McLaughlin, right? Was it McLaughlin?
McLaughlin is there.
Yeah, right. I think that kid showed signs.
I got to tell you something. I think we'll re-sign Shaq Griffin.
I think so. I think they have to add a veteran to that secondary, right? You just have to have a guy that's been there, can help the youngsters out. Because Blackman's barely played, right? He's still kind of a rookie when you look at it. Rodgers missed some time because of what he did off the field. So you need that guy that's going to help line them up, get them thinking positively. And I think Griffin was like 67% in PFF. That's pretty good. He shined a few times. They didn't throw it his way a lot. So, you could do a lot worse than Shaq Griffin. And that's the kind of name I think they need. They might also draft somebody. I mean, that's also a possibility.
Well, they lost Cam Bynum, who went to the Panthers. Or where did Bynum go?
Oh, he went to Indianapolis.
He went to the Colts.
Yeah.
So Patrick Jones went to the Panthers.
Yes.
So they re-signed Theo Jackson, who can play. Theo's pretty good.
Theo's good because Theo is exactly what Brian Flores wants. He's a swift knife. He can sit there and play linebacker. He can lineback and he can slot it and he can play set. He can be versatile. And he gives Flores the option if he's on the field and if he does win the job, because I still think he'll have to compete with Metellus and Jay Ward, who's another year in, the guy they drafted from LSU.
Yep.
And that might be a position they still sign someone. They were in on Javon Holland, but Holland said that they never contacted him because Holland actually wanted to go to Minnesota. So that's
he wanted to play. He wanted to play with Brian Flores.
He wanted to play with Flores, but I think the Vikings were just not going to designate.
Well, and then I think
for safety.
And I think with the Vikings is they knew that Harrison Smith was going to come back.
Right, and they wanted to keep Byron Murphy. I think it came down to what it really came down to. Tony, was Cam Bynum or Byron Murphy. and they said Byron Murphy, and they know they had to extend more on Byron Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
And so Holland was sort of like a pipe dream guy, but with the issues on the inside and of the offense and defensive lines, they knew there's just not enough money to take care of all that in one swoop. Now, that could, if things fall, I've seen some mock drafts, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple safeties that are falling in the draft order. Safeties usually fall. Who's to say that they don't draft? The Vikings are now in a position where they don't have to draft the position. Yeah, they got to get a running back. We know that, right?
Yeah.
They got to get a running back, either with one of the first pick, third pick, two fifths, or trading down. They will get a running back, maybe two, maybe two. You know,
I would.
It'll be interesting to see what they do now. You know, other people that they decided to keep. It was Aaron Jones was a big signing because if you didn't have Aaron Jones and you're in the position you're in now, it definitely says you got to draft a running back with your first pick, and they might do that anyways.
Right.
But and then you would have to. They probably would have signed like Rico Dowdle or somebody. Dowdle ended up going to Carolina too, I believe. And Patrick Jones is there. Carolina had a pretty good offseason. They signed a lot of players. So, and they need to because they're absolutely horrible. But the Vikings are doing the right thing. They are doing things that are smart, Tony, because they added Eric Wilson back to the fold. I think that happened earlier today. They got a guy by the name of Taveri Thomas. I know a lot of people don't know a lot lot about him.
He's a special teamer.
He's a special teams ace.
Yeah, you just lost Sherfield. So
he's going to take that role, and he'll run with it. And if they do close with Rondell Moore tonight, then they have another guy that can be a weapon on special teams. I would imagine he immediately becomes the upgrade at kick return.
And don't be shocked, people, if it gets close to training camp or into the regular season. Cam Akers is not back with the Minnesota Vikings.
I know. I liked what Cam did. I have to say, he impressed me when he came back. Remember, this guy has torn his Achilles twice. So this is, you wonder how much self-life he has, but he was the best blocking back we had. He was certainly he came in and gave Aaron Jones relief when Aaron was banged up. It really was Cam Akers' team.
He was that offensive spark in the Detroit game.
That a huge run that we couldn't score.
A huge run that we couldn't score on.
Yeah. That was I thought that was a momentum turner, and unfortunately it was not. So overall, Tony, when you look at it, free agency, as we wrap that up and we look a little bit to the draft, and then we'll have our final thoughts here. We know that they needed to rebuild the interior lines. We both think that they did that, defense and offensive lines. I kind of have to say right now, depending on what happens in the next 24 hours, that might change my viewpoint. But I think the Vikings got an A- in free agency so far. Kwesi's doing everything that his coaches want him to do, and that's how it's supposed to work. So there's good communication going on from Kwesi. Also, Ryan Grigson. Let's give him some props.
The Colts guys are here because of Grigson.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt.
The Colts guys are here because of Grigson.
Will Fries is just a beast. And you know what's funny? If you go look at a picture at Ryan Kelly, just if you're watching this right now here on the show, we thank you for doing so, taking the time out of your evening or day or whenever you happen to catch this. But just go look at a picture of Ryan Kelly. This guy is one of the meanest looking dudes you'll ever want to see. He looks like he wants to destroy you. And I think he has a neck roll. So I'm like,
he has a neck roll, yeah.
I am duly excited to have Ryan Kelly and Will Fries is the same kind of mentality. He's huge, he's mean, and there he is, by the way. Nice job, quality control. He's going to help in that running game. I mean, Aaron Jones has just become a better running back. Chandler.
I think a lot of Viking fans didn't realize this, but Minnesota did hire an assistant offensive line coach from the Jets.
Yeah.
He's got the reputation of being old school, mean.
And so Will Fries and Ryan Kelly he won't need to coach those two.
He won't need to coach those guys, but
Randall could be in trouble. A couple of the other guys are going to have to learn to get a little edge.
Well, Ingram's gone.
Right.
Bradbury is basically out the door.
Yeah. That could happen any moment. I mean, literally.
Yeah, you wanted
traded.
They wanted to get meaner on the line. They should get meaner on both sides of the line because they were pretty soft, but especially on the offensive side. And Fries and Kelly bring that. So that was just an A+ right there. Once they addressed the offensive line, I was like, okay, that's about a B. But then when you got the defensive guys we got, that's an A.
I thought Allen was already good enough to get it. And then when you added Hargrave, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, what? First of all, I was like, where are we getting all this money? It's like Monopoly money because you're like.
Well, here's the funny thing about it. Hargrave was already slated to come to Minnesota, and he hadn't even been released.
We're still on San Francisco.
He was still on the Niners team, which
I was like, how's that possible? I don't know how that works.
San Francisco is a dumpster fire.
It's amazing how it's turned so quickly. But that's and that's the thing, Tony. Teams will rise up that we're not even talking about. Like, could be Carolina, but most likely not. But there will be teams that were so bad that this upcoming year are going to surprise. And then there's teams that expect to be good, like Detroit, right?
Yeah.
That could go majorly backwards because they lost two of their great coordinators.
Who was that running back last year that took over for McCaffrey when we played him? Who was that?
Yeah, was it Mason? Mason, right?
He's a free agent, isn't he?
I would get him because he's exactly what they
need. I'm like, he's a free agent. I'm like, yeah.
If you're not going to keep Chandler or Akers is going to get a better opportunity somewhere else, he deserves that.
Yep.
You know what? Go get him. Get a power back. I mean, I think so. Let's segue into that. So both of us are giving the Vikings incredible grades for free agency. Feel free to let us know how you guys think the Vikings did in free agency. And let's just kind of segue to the draft because now that certain positions have been filled, it kind of changes the Vikings' needs, right? And the Vikings will draft 24th, and we will hopefully have some draft experts on coming up here on the show. A couple of my pals that I used to work with, they'll come on and help us break this thing down. But Vikings right now only have 4 picks. So if I was to start this off with you, Tony, to say first thing that you think the Vikings will do at the draft is what? Will they
trade out of the first round?
Trade out of the first round. Yeah, I think so too. I think that's almost a given, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the good thing about that is that the positions that the Vikings really need,
there's a lot of them.
Cornerback, running back, or two probably that are now 1 and 2 because defensive tackle, you can push it down a little bit with Allen and Hargrave being there. Harrison Smith still on the roster. Maybe safety could become something. The good thing about it, Tony, is the Vikings could just even sit there and pick best available. Something might fall into their lap at 24.
I think
you and I have both shared our crazy mock drafts, right? And those are ludicrous because, I don't know, on one of them I ended up with like 15 picks, and I'm like, what? How the hell is this?
Well, I'll tell you what, in all my mock drafts, I keep ending up with Kenneth Grant from Michigan.
Listen, if that happens, I am completely on board with Kenneth Grant.
I'm not going to complain at all. If he falls, and I fell, and when I traded back, I fell as far as
baby.
Yeah, I fell as far as 45 and 1, and we still got Kenneth Grant. So,
I mean, even if they ended up with Booker, right? I know it's not sexy, but you want that left guard position.
Yeah,
Booker's there, and you traded down, and you got more picks to go get other things. And Booker's there, 27, 29, 30, or out of the first round. And
there's a kid from Georgia too that's got an attitude. He kind of fits in. I think it's fair.
And the kid from Ohio State, Jackson. I love Jackson. That guy's something special, man. That is high quality human being.
Yeah, I mean, you could Minnesota can go BPA. I mean, we're not done in free agency.
They're not going to trade up. I doubt unless wait a minute. I cannot necessarily say this. Unless they feel, okay, let's just kind of jump ahead, Tony. I'm not going to make you happy with this. Say they sign Aaron Rodgers. Okay, that happens within the next 24 to 48 hours. I know.
You've already ruined it, but go ahead.
I'm sorry. But just say that happens. And the Vikings are like, okay, we're in the all-win, push the chips into the middle of the table. They could mortgage their first-round pick next year or after the year after, move up into the top 10. And if they added the running back that everybody says is going to be the next big thing in the NFL, Gentry, right? I mean, could that could answer that last question. Plus, even if Aaron's only there for 1 year, J.J. McCarthy would have, if they keep Aaron Jones for the second year, I don't think so, but you'd have
Gentry went to Boise State, right?
Yeah. Yes.
My God, there are linebackers faster than Gentry.
I know, but I'm just, you see what I'm saying? They could do that. Like if they feel there's one piece of the puzzle, I wouldn't do it for a running back because there's so many good ones in this draft.
If I move up in the draft at all, or if I stay in the first round, I'm taking Booker.
Yeah. Could you imagine adding him to that offense?
There's your left guard.
Randall's a swing.
Yeah.
And then you have to bring Reisner back, and they'd signed the other guy they signed from Tampa Bay, Cooley, I think it is. School. He played very well last year. Actually, he had high grades for the time that he played
left tackle,
and he can swing to the right. Yep. So I mean,
also I brought this up too with you, Walter Rouse, the guy we drafted last year. He's willing to move to guard. Now he's a big guy, but he's willing to work the guard.
If you draft Booker, you would have to, and he could be a natural replacement for Brian O'Neill. That's smart thinking looking ahead.
But Rouse did play guard in college. His first year of college, he did play guard.
And so I think he had something where he didn't allow a quarterback sack, which good. I mean, don't know about his run blocking, but
he was technically a right tackle at Oklahoma, but he has played left tackle. So it all depends on also if Darisaw comes back fully healthy, or if they're going to have to wait. We don't. I mean, I've seen some video of him working out. He looks okay, but once you start putting the stress of competition in there, and
we're not 100% sure. That's why JJ McCarthy, right? We're thinking he's 100%. Can't be too sure, but still, I'm going with a 90 to 95% JJ McCarthy over all the other things that we talked about tonight. But just to kind of put a bow on it, Tony, you're most excited for, and your final thought for what we've seen either so far, what we might see as we now kind of put our attentions to the draft.
Mm-hmm. What I'm excited to see is this team with his first franchise quarterback in 30 years behind center with this new defense, this new offensive line, but you still got your weapons that would help this young kid succeed. So if you want to kill my dream by bringing in some geriatric quarterback, you just do that. But keep in mind, you will lose a viewer. But you can't, you're not going to, if you can't be, you got to be consecutive. Yeah. Mark Wilf, you might want 2009 back, but do you remember what happened in 2010 and 2011?
And especially if Aaron wants a 2-year deal. There's so far, no one has said that.
And here's another thing too.
1 year.
How long is JJ going to be the good soldier and be like, okay, I'll just wait my turn? And the way the NFL is quarterback starved nowadays, if an opening comes up, you know damn well his representation is going to be out there. They're going to talk. And guess what? They could come back to the Vikings and say, well, you're not going to use my kid. You're not going to use my guy. He wants to move on.
Yeah. No, it could already be in place with all this talk already happening.
It very well could be. You've got
I've heard that JJ is on board with whatever the Vikings decide to do, but that's playing the good soldier. When he goes at home with his beautiful young wife, he's probably like, why is this even being discussed?
And here's the thing, JJ's doing some positive things that have been all over social media. He's feeding the poor. He's doing this. He's doing
this kid.
The kid is doing everything to show that he is what this team needs.
Tony, this guy is a true human being. This guy's a winner. He's a hockey player. He's tough. He
just the fact that he plays hockey is a big one up here.
Oh, I'm all excited. Yeah. Oh, he goes to all the wild games. I don't know he's been
right. To the wild games. Basically, if you play, it's like there's a different pain level with hockey. You're a different type of beast if you play football and hockey. And the kid can do it. You've got to roll with JJ. You just have
everyone that played with JJ at Michigan loves the kid.
Yeah,
I think already that some of the Viking players already love this kid. They saw him. You saw the video of this, Tony, when he had the knee surgery. He was coming in with his motorized thing, but he didn't want to miss a meeting. And KOC said he felt bad because he was learning how to use this thing. And he was bumping into walls, and he's like,
"And the walls in the hallway, the hallways.
Let's not hurt yourself anymore. We'll help you with this. JJ. We know you want to be here, but you get it. This guy eats, drinks.
Here's my question:
it's like someone by the name of Tom Brady once did.
Yeah, it's a multi-million-dollar facility. Where are the elevators?
I thought that was hilarious. He's like, we just don't want him to hurt himself when he's on his little scooter.
Right. It's just you can't.
Yeah.
You've got your face now of the future. You've
now.
got your
Not
team
wait.
of the future.
Start it now. Wish Kirk Cousins all the best in Pittsburgh or Cleveland. Aaron Rodgers, good luck in Pittsburgh. Sam, I hope you do really well.
Well, here's the thing, too. We're already saying Kirk Cousins up here. Atlanta hasn't let him go. And I'm hearing Atlanta's probably going to hang on. They have no choice.
Yeah, they don't, because they don't really win anything, even if they cut him.
And he's basically going to, whoever he signs with, if they let him go, he's still getting 2 paychecks for 2 years in a row. He's had 2 NFL teams paying him.
I will say this about good old Kirk O'Chains and his agent. He is a Hall of Fame negotiator. He should be, and I've said this to you, he should be the guy with the players union. He should be the head of it. I'm not wasting any time. Kirk and his agent, they will get it done. These guys get the best deal. And you can't, no matter how that's so horrible for the team. How could Kirk do that? You know what? I would do it too if I had the wherewithal and an agent. You get as much as you can in this world because nobody's going to, people are so quick to take it away from you. You might as well as get it while you can. So good job there, Kirk O'Chains.
Yeah.
It's not in Minnesota. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Maybe Cleveland, maybe Tennessee. You'll be good. Just go. Don't come back to Minnesota. We'll be happy. To wrap it up here, my excitement level is really high, Tony. It is because JJ's there. JJ's there. We don't, I'd get a nice Joe Flacco, get a Jameis Winston, I think, still out there, right? I believe.
I'd even roll with Winston.
Yeah. You know what? And let JJ have the reins. It's time. It would have been his last year, people. Understand that. Sam Darnold probably should be very thankful that JJ had a knee issue.
Yep.
Because if not, Sam Darnold would probably still be a Viking right now as a backup to JJ McCarthy. McCarthy was ahead of him in camp.
Yeah.
That's how good this kid is. Embrace the new, Viking fans.
Yeah.
Embrace the new. And as far as my final thought, real good days are ahead, Tony Bell.
I hope so.
Real good days. I am telling you, 2 championships have its name written with Minnesota Vikings with JJ McCarthy as the quarterback. And I just, there's such a confidence about that with what this kid brings to the table and why KOC, when he's in his desk tonight, sitting there on the wall, should feel 100% sure. And he might already feel this way. As you said, Mark Wilf might be the one that's convoluting the situation.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that KOC has number 9 on his little thing up on the board behind Ryan Kelly with Aaron Jones in the backfield and JJ and Jordan on the wide receiving planks on the board. It's got to happen. This is JJ's team.
Yeah.
We don't need to go back in time to make the same mistake that we made in 2009. Now, it was a fun mistake. I thoroughly enjoyed Brett Favre. It was a great year. Phenomenal year. Could you argue, Tony, the most exciting year in Vikings football since 98? Like 2009 was the most exciting year in Vikings football since
up until that time, yeah.
Right? And then going back to the glory days.
Yeah.
So this is what's ahead. It's right there in front of you. JJ McCarthy is the answer. On that note, we bid you all a wonderful night. Have a fantastic weekend. Thank you for watching. Go check out NFL Retro because you never know what Tony Bell is going to add. You never know what crazy player I'm going to add. Okay? I added Roosevelt Leaks.
You have taken over that site.
Roland. Who's the one that you were like, how? What in the hell?
Roland Hooks.
Roland Hooks, baby.
Yeah.
Learn about Roland Hooks on NFL Retro. Get to know these phenomenal players or mediocre players, but whatever. It's all in NFL Retro. Check it out. For Tony Bell, for quality control, another excellent job with all the pictures while we were talking. And we will be back with you next week because there's probably going to be more to talk about.
Oh, God.
Next week, I'm just going to guess. Okay? And it could be a whole completely different show next week right here on the official Purple SKOL Squad show for Minnesota Vikings fans. SKOL, everybody. Have a good
SKOL.
day.
Thanks for watching our official Purple SKOL Squad show for Minnesota Vikings fans. For all breaking Vikings news and where will Aaron Rodgers land, keep checking our page. Oh, and tell your friends about us so they can join the squad too. See you next time. SKOL!